Testing one, two. All right, friends, welcome. This is Points. Actually, you know what? Welcome, everybody. Hey, friends, this is Phillip with Points of Phillip. And today we are going to be discussing the fact that Citi just completely torpedoed their recent, basically, goodwill that they've had with essentially being able to actually have create value for most people. And so Citi has done a huge thing. And well, it couldn't have come at a worse time for Citi and for us. And so we're going to talk about what's going on, what's happening, and we're going to talk about how that matters for you. So, okay, so let's go ahead and get into the news here. And essentially, basically, that's that Citi is going to be reducing the transfer rates to choice privileges and preferred hotels, the I Prefer program. And so this is actually going to be pretty significant. So if we actually, I'm going to see if we can zoom in so we can actually see bigger text. There we go. And so if you take a look here, Citi has announced that starting on April 19th, the transfer rates to choice privileges and preferred hotels will be decreasing. So current rates are 1,000 thank you reward points to 2,000 choice privileges points, and the 1,000 thank you reward points are transferable to 4,000 transfer or I Prefer points. So what it will become after on April 19th is 1,000 thank you points to 1,500 choice privileges points, and the 1,000 thank you points to 2,000 I Prefer points. So this is bad. This is bad. So we're going to talk about how bad it is. But anyway, thanks so much for being here. Go ahead and hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Appreciate you guys for being here. Especially appreciate Tyler for being the first commenter, and for Calder's for actually giving the idea for this live. So that was really solid as well. Yeah. All right. So Ian, great question. So never been to a choice or I Prefer hotel in my life, but I think there are good options. Yeah, exactly. So that's a solid way to think about it, Ian. I also have not really booked an I Prefer hotel ever, and I actually haven't really booked any choice hotels in a while. So let's take a look at why it's a big deal, why I kind of think it's kind of insane right now. And basically, Citi used to be, before 2 or 3 hours ago when this news dropped, used to be very overpowered. However, it's still a good valued program. It's just not nearly as good as it used to be, which means that I actually have started to change, right, my spending to my Citi Strata Premier. However, there's a lot of cards in my wallet that hit a lot of those categories, right? So for the general travel category, do I use my Citi Strata Premier, or do I use my green card? Or do I use something else, right? So there's a lot of different options there. When it comes to the dining category, right? I actually started using my Citi Strata Premier over my gold card, over my saver card, over even my Chase Sapphire Preferred, because of this I Prefer program and this whole transfer part. So if that's no longer a thing, or at least as big of a thing, then why should I change over into actually making that work? So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the things with I Prefer and figure out why it's a big deal. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and do something that I know about. So we're going to go ahead and hit Orlando, and we're going to hit up Orlando because I know kind of a little bit about the hotel prices, but a lot of people end up actually traveling here. We're going to see if we can go just a random night in June, what that would look like. So let's go ahead and hit search here. Now I've already logged in, so it should be able to show us the current point ratio, right? And so let's go ahead and take a look here. We see Shingle Creek, Rose and Shingle Creek, which actually, it's a really good property. It has a really good golf course. You can actually see it in the picture here. Huge golf courses. Rosen Plaza Hotel is literally directly across the street, and the Rosen Center are both directly across the street from the Orlando Convention Center, which a lot of people actually visit when they come. And so we see the dollar rate here. So we're looking at 311 for random night in June, 287, 303. Then we have the Visions Resort and Spa, which is, and then the Edda Hotel. But let's take a look. If we go ahead and switch this to points, what does this look like? So essentially, basically, that's going to be 50,000 points per night. So 50,000 points per night for I Prefer is decent, right? So if we take a look here, that room rate was about $300, right? And so 50,000 points to save $300. That's not a very good one-to-one value when it comes to these I Prefer points. However, when the value is, and it currently is, 1 to 4, you're looking at 12,000, I think, 12,500 points for that night. So 12,500 Citi thank you points to save $300. And that is an insane value. However, right after April 19th, that will go down. So this will be a 25,000 thank you point room instead, a 25,000 point, thank you point room instead of 12,000, right? So your Citi thank you points, if you're planning on using iPreferred hotels, just immediately became dramatically less valuable, right? And so I was actually talking about this on a live because I was thinking, okay, if you have, let's say the Citi Strata Premier is your only credit card, right? And let's say that you know that you want to hit up I Prefer. I was considering, right? So there's only two programs that actually convert, two credit card programs that convert to I Prefer, right? It's going to be Capital One at 1 to 2 and Citi Citi at 1 to 4 currently. And so what I was thinking is like, okay, if you're only going to be changing out the spend for these I Prefer hotel points, right? You are not even going to be using the Venture X or the Venture as a catch-all because those Citi points are literally twice as valuable when you're transferring them to I Prefer. That's no longer the case, right? So I was saying, it would make sense if you have an I Prefer, if you're trying to build up your I Prefer points, to just put every single spend on your Citi Strata Premier if that's your only card, right? If you have the Citi Strata Elite at 1.5x, that's going to be better. If you have the Citi Double Cash at 2x, that's going to be better. But yeah, exactly. So Kevin Wynn is saying the exact same thing. 12,500 points currently, and that's going to go up to 25,000 points. That's a huge devaluation, right? So let's take a look at some other places, right? So, we're looking at these hotels. There's a lot more than 4 hotels in Florida, right? So first up at the bat, right? I Prefer not that big of a program. And so it's kind of weird that this devaluation is happening so quickly just because this is something that we're really seeing like kind of essentially basically like this is kind of a unicorn in that there was a lot of really cool things to see and do. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at another area. So we're just going to do another search here. Let's go ahead and back out. Let's go ahead and do a search for Washington, D.C. All right, let's go ahead and do D.C. There we go. What it was there. Let's see. I'm trying to look for Washington District of Columbia. There we go. Okay. Sure. All right. Let's just do the same night in June just to keep everything happy. All right. So we're looking at a couple different properties. We see the Watergate Hotel for $446 a night. We saw the Pendry, Washington, D.C. on the Wharf. So this is actually a really nice new property for $530. The DuPont Circle Hotel. It's on literally it's on the Amex Hotel Collection. It's actually, if you're looking to stay in Northwest DC, this is actually not that bad. It's across the circle from the Red Line. If you care about, metro transport there, then there's the Pendry in Baltimore, Salamander, Middleburg, which actually Middleburg, Virginia, that's not a bad property actually for $700 either. Let's take a look at points. So let's go ahead and do the points here. So we only see the DuPont Circle Hotel here. So this is 50,000 points. And let's take a look at how much it was in cash. So that's $330 for 50,000 points. So again, to save $350, you will now have to use 250 Citi points, which if you cash them out at 1 cent per point, if you're move them to a Citi Double Cash or a custom cash them out, you would have to get $250 in value, right? So you would get a little bit more than 1 cent per point for your Citi points. But let's take a look at that at 12,500, right? That is dramatically higher than 1 cent per point valuation. And so this is the reason why this is a huge problem, right? This is a problem that you can't use now. Of course, Washington, D.C. has more than one hotel, right? And so again, I Prefer, it's a big deal because of those outsized values, right? If you are in the hotel game, you're trying to chase those higher cent per point values. It used to be Hyatt, and now it used to be I Prefer. And so, that's kind of crazy that that's already dropping off. Let's go ahead and take a look at some other cities. Let's go ahead and check out Paris. So if we're taking a look at Paris here, if we're looking at the cash rates, we have the Hotel Regina Louvre at 760, the Hotel Napoleon at 649 or 648, and then this hotel at 800, Castillo Paris, and that's 941. So let's take a look at what we can book with points. Actually, you can only do points in cash. So this is actually going to be, this one here is 20,000 points plus $396. So that's actually changed because there actually used to be, actually, we might be coming across a thing. So when I looked at this on another video, there were at least 3 hotels in Paris that actually had points or took points in for their rooms. And so you're finding actually that a lot of these hotels are actually opting out of actually checking or using points. So let's go ahead and see in Miami, because I do know that there's a couple of other hotels, including the Biltmore in Miami. We have the Palms Hotel and Spa, and that's in Miami Beach, on the beach. Then we also have a couple of others, the Trump International, the Mayfair House in the Coconut Grove, which is actually a really, really nice hotel. I've been there a couple times myself. And so $699 for that room. Let's take a look at what we can do with points. So pretty much just the Biltmore. So we're saving 50,000. So 50,000 points is pretty much their max out per night for I Prefer. So if we take a look here, the cash rate was going to be $500. And so this one here is 1 cent per point for our I Prefer points, which means that our Citi points used to be 4 cents per point, and now they're 2 cents per point. And so that's going to be a huge, huge, huge change. And so that's going to be the problem basically is that, not only are there fewer and fewer properties to book with your points, because they actually used to be 2 to 3 in each city. And that's now there's like 1 maybe. So not only are properties not accepting points of this program, which may be part of the problem, but those points are dramatically harder to get now. And so, not going to be nearly as valuable. Let's take a look at London. So there's a couple hotels in London. We have the Grosvenor House Suites. We have the Londoner, the Stafford. So the Beaumont Mayfair. The Royal Lancaster. Virgin Hotels is actually a part of this program, but I don't think you can actually use points for them. So we have, this is 150,000 points per night at the Newman, and that would be for a $1,100 a night room. So if you wanted to do 150,000 points, that's 75,000 Chase our Citi points for a night now after April 19th. Londoner, same thing. That's going to be 50,000. It used to be 25,000 points to book this room. I mean, it still is. If you have the Citi points, transfer them to I Prefer, at least as long as you have a hotel that you can do this for. So that's going to be the Pelham London. That's kind of a big deal as well. Let's take a look at some other ones. Let's take a look at just in Europe. So view hotel listings. We have a couple of others for... see, we have a couple in Barca. We have one in Barcelona. Okay, so if we take a look in, there's one in Ireland. There's a manor in Ireland for 50,000 points a night. We have Oslo, Norway has a hotel. We see some other island, one in Milan, Italy, Austria. So and here's the thing, right? You could definitely see where there's favoring some countries over others, but there's some decent hotels here. The Mystery Hotel in Budapest, 30,000 points per night. That is not bad. And so, so that's going to be really, really huge if you're trying to book that. Let's take a look here if we wanted to go to Hawaii. Actually, let's take a look at the hotel listings. Let's go ahead and go down here. We have 2 available in cash. So we have these 2 resorts. Let's take a look at points. We have one for 75,000 points, and that's going to be saving us about $300 a night. So that would definitely not be a really solid ratio. So they don't want us to go to Hawaii with our points. So let's go ahead and see our other destinations. We got they're advertising Rome. Let's take a look at Rome. Okay. All right, so average daily rate, $750. And they're not showing us the points value here, but yes, no. So exactly. So you're taking a look here at the reduced value is now going to be 1 to 2 and 1 to 1.5. And so this is going to be really a huge problem, right? So if you're someone who has been trying to chase this value, I've been recommending the Citi Strata Premier. The reason why is because, well, okay, so if you're just a normal person, right, that's not insane in the credit card game, that probably you haven't opened up 25 cards last year, and you're trying to minimize annual fees and you're trying to just kind of make sure you get reliable value, right? The Citi Strata Premier was the card, right? And so we got to figure out if it is still the card moving forward, right? For the $95 annual fee, you do have that hotel credit, which is not terribly difficult to use, but you do have to pay up in order to actually do that. But the card as it currently stands is 1-to-1 to JetBlue, 1-to-1 to American Airlines. And then you also have the 1-to-4 to Choice, or I prefer, and the 1-to-2 to Choice. And so if you're just trying to make normal travel happen, perhaps around the United States or maybe a little bit internationally, this is actually a really solid, easy way to get value. Now, the hotel programs have both been nerfed, which means if you're trying to get one card program to make both hotels and airfare possible for you and your family, is the Citi card still the best one? So we have to think about what are the other options, right? And so honestly, I think what we're going to have to start thinking about is, and I can finally actually talk about it in person, is the Bilt Obsidian card. So let's take a look here at the Bilt Obsidian card. So for the exact same annual fee as the Citi Strata Premier, essentially what you're thinking about here is, what are the hotel options, right? So you have access to the Accor program, I believe. You have access to Hyatt. And so you do have access to, I think, Hilton and Marriott, but should not do that from the Bilt program. But then you also, let's think about the domestic carrier. So you have access to United, you have access to Southwest. And so you do have access to a couple different things. Now, if you're going to be flying Southwest, I recommend you need a credit card with Southwest in order to actually make it remotely bearable when it comes to actually, having checked bags and being able to actually get your seats and everything like that. But Bilt is possible, right? So Bilt, not same annual fee. Now you're losing a little bit on the multipliers, right? So I'm using the Bilt Obsidian card with the point kind of multiplier accelerator, right? And so this card here can be 4x on either dining or groceries. I've decided to go with groceries because, well, my wife and I are staying a lot in the house a lot more. So we're actually getting delivery from, Sprouts and Target, which we can talk about in a members only video. But so 4x back on any one of those categories. Now, if you decide to make this a travel card, right, you can do that, even though you don't have as many great protections. And so that's something to consider as well. But you can make this a 3x back on travel purchases. So it's a 2x back regularly. And then with that point accelerator, which you can do up to $25,000 in spend per year, that becomes a 3x card, right, on travel purchases. And so that can go for hotels, for airfare. So this actually could be pretty solid considering you have Atmos as well, which can book American Airlines flights for a really, really cheaper option. So that's also cool. And then if you have the points accelerator, you can do 2x on everything. And so that's really solid. So the 2x on everything, 3x on travel, 4x on dining or groceries makes this Bilt Obsidian card kind of a better option than the Citi Strata Premier for most people. Now, you do have to worry about this bad customer service, but you also do have to worry about the bad customer service because if you're not a Citi Strata elite person and you don't have investments with Citi, they really don't give you the good customer service, which means if something bad were to happen, well, you might be out of luck. So we're going to go ahead and turn to the chat now to kind of get a better idea of what kind of where everybody is. Tyler's credit card tips, how disappointing. Really one of the things that made me desire Citi cards. Exactly, right? It actually was actively considering changing my American Airlines Platinum Select card to the Citi Strata Elite, even though I wouldn't get the sign-up bonus because I wanted the option to get the City Nights for dining. I wanted to get the 1.5x because at least, I'd have an option to get some sort of a catch-all because I wanted to get all those Citi points. But I don't know if that's going to be the case moving forward. Kevin, Wells Fargo point is best to transfer to Choice Hotel because it still is 1 to 2. Yeah, that's going to be a great point. So if you have a Wells Fargo card, you still get that 1.1 to 2, at least currently. We'll find out what Wells is going to be doing. John, thanks so much for being here. I saw you actually beat me to the punch. I was putting Wells to bed, which actually wasn't successful, so he's still being rocked to sleep. But yeah, you beat me, so great job, man. It was a good video. I enjoyed watching it. Andrew, Virgin to Japan or Costco travel? Interesting. Okay. Yeah, you could definitely do that. Virgin has a lot of really good transfer partners. Yeah, and Costco travel is still really good. We basically I have an actual interesting story about this. A friend of mine, they were traveling to Edinburgh and to the Isle of Skye with us in November, and they were looking for rental car deals, and they found actually a really solid rental car deal with Costco Travel. Now, the one thing that I know a relative of mine works for Enterprise, and so because of that, and we're close enough that I actually qualify for the friends and family discount with Enterprise, and so their rate was actually it matched mine with the friends and family discount with Enterprise, and that was through Costco Travel. So that, yeah, Costco Travel could still be really, really good. And so there's that. Tyler was saying I was just looking at I Prefer hotels to possibly book for travel later in the year, and they have some very competitive value. I was really surprised. Yeah, Tyler, they do have some really good value if their properties make sense for where you're traveling. It's very difficult to say this is not a good program. CP Rod, yeah, saying that was quick. I really thought 1 to 4 would last longer. Yeah, no, 100%. I was definitely kind of planning on that. Exactly. Okay. Brandon Ross just actually did my first I Prefer stay last week in New York City. Really enjoyed it. Only have vanilla strata, but still felt 1 to 2, 1 to 2.0 with value was great. Sad I won't get 1 to 4 when I apply for Strata Premier soon. Yeah. I think Citi was honestly, they saw the writing on the wall because I mean, a lot of people have been doing videos about how great Citi is. And I think they were like, okay, we're going to get a flood of people that are actually trying to get this card, that are going to get these sign-up bonuses. We've got to nip this thing in the bud. And well, they definitely appear to. Sci-Fi Anthony Venture is not going to like this announcement from Citi. Yeah, no, I saw he did a community post about it. Patron was about to get the premiere to book I Prefer for an upcoming Tokyo, thinking it'd get nerfed with all the recent hotel devaluations. Didn't think it would happen this fast. Yeah, exactly. This is really, really fast. Joe Carson. Oh, yeah, you're telling me. Yeah, Kevin saying the all transfer about 12,500 for that 50,000 point room. Sci-Fi fan, this was kind of one of the last things to make Citi unique from a value perspective other than AA. Exactly. And so Sci-Fi fan, this is what I'm talking about. This is part of why this is the second half of the coin to why Citi was easy for most people to get value from, right? Because you have the easy to get access to value from American Airlines with the flight perspective, but you also have the I Prefer and Choice to a certain degree helped you get good value when it came time to, actually for the hotel perspective too. And so both of those things made it so that Citi was nearly unbeatable when it came to reliable everyday value, right? So American Express, you can still win with Hilton if you're traveling to the Waldorf Astoria in New York, right? However, if you're trying to stay at a Hampton Inn nearby, that ain't gonna cut it, right? You're not gonna get that value. But yeah, let's see. Can we check Tokyo, Japan? Yeah, sure. Let's check Tokyo, Japan. So let's go ahead and go here. Let's go ahead and back up a little bit. All right, let's go ahead. Where? Oh no, where to go? Okay. Oh, I'm not trying to go to Hawaii. I'm trying to go to Tokyo. All right, let's see if it goes to Tokyo. Let's see. There we go. Okay, let's try Tokyo. All right, so I'm just going to do we have 15 hotels, so I'm going to just check just a random date in June. That may kind of hinder our search a little bit. So we're looking at 15 hotels. So we're looking at the Hotel New Otani, Tokyo. We have another couple of Tokyos. So it looks like, yeah, they're pretty good with Tokyo, pretty much, which is good. Now, so the cash rates are not bad, honestly. Let's take a look at the points. So we have the Hotel Chinzanzo Tokyo for 75,000 points a night. Shibuya Excel for 50,000 points a night. And then the Shibuya Stream Hotel. So we only have 3 that are actually bookable in the entirety of Japan. or actually in Tokyo rather. So let's take a look at the cash rate of these hotels. So we're looking at this is $400 for that 75,000 one, and then we see 245 and 300 for those others. So let's go ahead and go back to the point value here. And so yeah, 50,000 to save about 300. Again, the city is a lot stronger when it comes to that 1 to 4 rate than 1 to 2. So yeah, definitely solid check there, Kevin. Don Kim, yeah, impromptu, exactly. I was talking to Calderds and he was like, you gotta go live. And so we did. Texas Dog, thanks so much for being here. Thumbs up, thanks so much. Hit that like button. Did they nerf the 1.4? Yes, they sure did. Chad's Money Minutes is here. Thanks so much for being here as well. Mr. Krabs the Goat. Should I get the Amex Gold if I already have the Capital One Saver? So I will tell you, I have both. So I have the Saver card here, and I have the American Express Gold card. So I would say it depends on whether or not you want to get into travel and you want to get into domestic travel. So our in-laws, they actually ended up getting the venture card with the sign-up bonus a couple of months back, and basically they were looking into kind of figuring out how to make bookings happen, right? And so I was telling them, well, you have access to the transfer partners, right? And so basically we were looking at a United flight, and basically we were looking at through Air Canada, but none of the award availability they needed was actually available. So we ended up actually having to book things through the travel portal with Capital One. And so if you're okay with redeeming those points for 1 cent per point through the Capital One travel portal, then that's good, reliable value. But if you want to get more than that, you're pretty much looking at transferring to international partners, right? So Virgin is still there, Air France is there, which means you do have access to some Delta. You do have some exposure to some United with the Air Canada thing. Capital One is easy to get good value for. You just have to be really, really good at the game, and you have to be kind of basically able to be flexible where you're flying into or when you're flying, right? But if you're a partnership with, say, American Express, right, you can just say, I'm just going to transfer my points to Delta, pay that excise tax, and then I'm just going to be able to book whatever it is that Delta has, right? And so having access to a credit card partner that has direct, domestic, flights partners, that can be really helpful. And so Citi has American, Delta and American Express are there, and then Chase has United and Southwest. Kevin, the average point rate is between 20,000 and 150,000 in Citi points is old, 5,000 to 37,000 in new. Yeah, exactly. So everything's just going up in value. Don Kim, dinner time on West Coast, time for City Night dinner, and we'll have to catch the replay. Thanks so much for being here, Don Kim. Appreciate you. Kevin Wynn, Wells Fargo point transfer to Choice Hotel is 1 to 2 is best point system for that hotel system. Yeah, exactly. So Wells Fargo for Choice is definitely going to be a lot easier. Let's take a look at Choice actually while we're here. So Choice has some interesting options. In fact, you can actually book some Hilton properties with Choice now. So basically, so Hilton Grand Vacations bought Blue Green Vacations, which is a separate timeshare company. Now, currently, you can actually book Blue Green Vacations through Choice, and so that's actually pretty interesting. So let's go ahead and take a look at this system. So we're going to take a look at Orlando, just because, again, I'm familiar a little bit with the market. So we're going to go ahead and just do a random date in June. 1 room, 1 guest, and let's go ahead and do that search. So let's see what the options are. So we have, again, so if you're looking at Choice, right, you do have the Comfort Suites, which can be pretty good, honestly. It's got comfort right in the name. That's kind of big. Cambria is going to be kind of their more upper scale-ish kind of hotel. Then you have sleep-ins, and this is actually going to be interesting. The Ascend Collection is where you get into those kind of better hotels. And so this one is near Universal Boulevard, which means it's kind of close. Now, if you look at the room, it looks kind of plain, right? It still looks like it would be about $142, right? So if you're looking for hotels that are going to cost a lot, you're not going to find anything. But let's take a look at the points value. So let's go ahead and see here. If we're looking at the comfort suites, we're looking at 25,000 points. And so 25,000 points currently is what, 12,500 city points. And now it's going to be more than that, right? And so essentially, basically, is it worth doing that to save? Again, I think it was what, 120, 130 bucks. Are you willing to get nearly 1 to 1, 1 cent per point for city and make this transfer, right? Or would you rather pay cash for the hotel, earn the points, and maybe cash out your city points, right? And you still can do that as long as you have an additional card. So you move your points from the Citi Strata Premier, move them over to, the double cash or the custom cash, and then cash them out that way. But you can still get some good money, right? So 30,000 points. I think that was like 150 or something. Let's take a look at the Dask Hotel. That was $150 for 29,000 points. So that could be there. So basically, that's what we're looking at. So 15,000 city thank you points now or before, and then that's going to be a little bit harder to get value from. So choice. It's definitely not one that I've tried to use that much, but you definitely can get some value from that. Okay, so Daniel, yep, this big city news is a huge hotel devaluation across Choice and I Prefer, so that's going to be really bad. Russell, yeah, it's still a good value, right? I use the I Prefer transfer partner for Valentine's Day evening at the DuPont Circle Hotel. I just say I was impressed with the points transfer ratio was amazing. Yeah, exactly, right? So if you're trying to make transferable currencies work, then I Prefer with Citi was insane, right? Being able to get a $300 or $400 hotel room, a $300 or $400 per night hotel room for 12,500 Citi points was insane value, right? It's just not going to be there anymore. All right. Kevin, also you have a Costco executive membership and Costco card. You learn 5% on Costco travel, 3% travel from the card, and 2% from membership. Okay. That's really good to know. I haven't really done too much with Costco travel, but that's good to know. Costco card earn rate is 5% Costco gas, 4% other gas and EV charging, 3% travel and restaurant, 2% Costco purchases, and 1% everything else. Okay. So Kevin Wayne, the Costco travel is included. Okay. Calder's just stated quality in a couple weeks ago. Definitely not knocking Aunt Connie's socks off, but my expectations still probably wouldn't go back to. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So these hotels we want a place to stay, and we don't want to spend that much money on it, right? And so, they do a good job at that. And there's a lot of hotels that are actually pretty new that really wouldn't be that bad to stay at. It's just, it's not going to be the Waldorf or the Conrad, right? Okay, Background Blue, thanks so much for being here. Vincent Pasquale, thanks so much for being here as well. Background, at this rate, we can finally see Little Caesars as a transfer partner by 2028. Oh yeah, that and the Starbucks is there, and we could do Darden points or Outback points or whatever. There we go. All right, Mike from LA. Speculative transfers to I Prefer the Nerf or hold for AA? That is the question, Mike. Yeah, so that's one of the questions here, right? Do we want to do a speculative transfer? Now, speculative transfer just means we clear out house or as much as possible with Citi because we want we know eventually maybe there's going to be an I Prefer stay, right? So there's two problems with that, right? So in the last month and a half since I last did a video about I Prefer, there's been a remarkable decrease in hotels that actually take I Prefer points, right? And so basically, like I can transfer my points now. So I have, I think, close to 7,000 points with Citi right now that haven't been already converted to American Airlines. So if I change that over, right? It won't have enough points for an I Prefer booking at, let's say if we wanted to go to the Biltmore in Miami, right? I don't have enough points for that booking. But by the time I do have enough points for that booking, will they still have those, will I still be able to book it with the points, right? And so that's going to be the big question, will we be able to do anything with them moving forward? Now, probably more so because the points are going to be more valuable, at least from the hotel perspective. And so that might be, more people might take it now that this devaluation has gone through. And so that's one side of the coin, right? I think, honestly, I don't know. Because there's a couple of those I Prefer hotels I really would want to stay at, right? Like if you're taking a look like at some of those hotels that we saw in Ireland, we're looking at a manor in the countryside in Ireland for 50,000 points, 75,000 points. The I Prefer points. it might still be worth doing, right? Especially if you know that you're traveling to a place where you're likely to have at least one or two I prefer options. You could do that, right? Because American Airlines is going to be there. There's going to be devaluations with that too, I'd imagine soon, but it's there. That's the question. By the way, is the CSE still holding at the old transfer rates for now? So everything's holding at the old transfer rates until April 19th, and then that's going to be going away. And that's going to be, I believe, it's a citywide thing. So if we take a look here at what we're looking at. Yeah, it looks like it's just across the board. So that is kind of, I think it's if any of the Strata cards. So that's going to be a big deal. If you have Kevin Wynn, if you have a Costco executive membership, adds 2% on Costco travel, and Costco purchases okay. Yeah, so that's good. Let's see, Wells Fargo points. You only need 1 point to transfer to any Wells Fargo transfer partner. Okay, that's good to know as well. Let's see, random key from Key and Peele appearance on a Choice Hotel landing page. Right? Yeah, exactly. Russell, this actually really stings. So it's going to be you can use our money to bridge your gap to the next month. Be thankful for that. Make hay while the sun is shining. Exactly, right. The banks aren't going to help you, so you might as well help yourself to the bank's money. Yeah. All right. So off topic, what would your choice be for a 2x cashback card? So if we're looking for a 2% cashback card, it's very hard to do better than the Fidelity Rewards Visa. And so I'm sure I have it around here. Yep, here it is. And so they recently redid the design, and it has a little bit of metal inside. It's not a metal card, but it has like a little metal inside to give it a little bit more heft. So that not only $0 annual fee, 2% cash back, which you can put into, a brokerage account or even an IRA or even a college savings 529 plan or something like that. And so that's really solid as well. And that also, in addition to that, no foreign transaction fees does cover, I think, a significant portion of global entry or TSA pre-check. And so that's going to be a solid card. If you're looking for something that still has the option to transfer into points, then the Citi Double Cash is still there. So that can be there. You can just build up your thank you points. And then maybe once you get the Citi Strata Premier, you can actually transfer them out at a better rate to other transfer partners. And so that's probably my second best option. And again, we got to talk about it. There's a Robinhood Gold card at 3% cash back on every single purchase. Well, as long as you're not buying gift cards or taxes or gold or anything else that they might not like you for. So I think the Robinhood Gold card might be the best play for some of these points, especially if we're looking at these Citi points. If you're not going to get more than around 1 cent per point with your Citi points when you're doing hotels, just use Robinhood Gold card, get 3% cash back on everything, and then use it to buy points, right? Use it to buy your choice points, use it to buy IHG, use it to buy Marriott, use it to buy Hilton points at half a cent a point. And this becomes a 6x hotel card on any kind of hotel that you try to use. So that could be a good idea too. Tyler's credit card tips, background and his Little Caesars. Yeah. Background loves his Little Caesars. At Tyler, transfer rate of 500 points for whole medium pizza. Just there we go. All right. And so Kevin's still talking about Costco executive membership. Background Blend, how much longer do y'all think we see AA devalue or even worse transfer rate to a nerf? It could be. I would imagine that Citi has at least some sort of a contract that says it's going to be 1-to-1 for at least a certain amount of time. Maybe that's a year, maybe it's 2 years. So I think we'll see whenever that period runs out, we will see that it will be devalued. But I think it's difficult to say that would go down and no others would, because I don't know, because AA, yeah, I don't know. I definitely think that AA is going to devalue in that maybe they don't show their award availability with other partners, right? So they're going to limit the Atmos, availability, and they kind of are at this point. I think that we're going to see maybe our points aren't going to go as far with AA. I don't know if AA is going to be it's going to be a 1 to, or 1,000 to 500 or, 1,000 to 750. I don't think we're going to see that. I think AA is going to handle it in-house. Kevin saying, my mom has a Costco card. You can ask me about Costco. There we go. Background Blue, imagine the Citi pulls a 2-week late April Fool's on its transfer rate deval and they turn it into a mid-April transfer bonus. That would be nice. Then we can get a couple of different Little Caesars pizzas. All right. So what do you think about the Amex business card rumor? So this the graphite card, which I think is what we're all calling it, it kind of reads like a plum card, just a little bit different. And so, the 2% cashback unlimited is intriguing. But you do have a couple of other business cards that are very similar to that, right? You have the Spark card, right? And those don't really have nearly as much annual fees. You have a couple of others. I think there's an Ink Preferred or Ink Code card that works about the same, that doesn't anywhere near that annual fee. So I think it could justify the annual fee by saying like you can pay it off in 60 days, like the Plum card, or maybe there's going to be some credits there. Maybe there'll be a ChatGPT credit or a Squarespace credit or something like that. Who knows? It's not intriguing to me, but I'm not the target customer. I'm never going to put enough on a 2% cashback card to make it worth spending $250 on it. So that's just my 2 cents on that one. Mr. Lost 67, what do you think will happen with the Robinhood? Robinhood is going to try to convert as many big spenders on the Robinhood Gold card as possible to the Platinum card. And when that's not going to work, well, I don't know what we're going to do. We might see, Robinhood might try to kind of goose their interest earnings a little bit before they actually start going down on the 3% catch-all. Maybe they're going to start being a little bit more militant about what they consider business spending, because they have been pretty militant about making sure that people aren't putting business levels of spend on their Amex Gold card. And so they're kind of being a little anti like big spender, because what they want is they want someone to spend enough that they get in debt and then, have to pay the 35, percent interest rate there. And so, that's their game. I think they're going to try to maybe goose that. Maybe they'll do like limited time APRs, like you'll get, 10% for 6 months or something like that. And then wait for people to carry a balance and not be able to pay it off and then hit them with the full interest. So I think they'll kind of play around with that part of the lever instead of cutting off the 3%, at least in the short term. All right, background balloon. I bet the Robinhood Gold would let you buy a piece of platinum at 3% cash back. Maybe, maybe that would be interesting. Kevin really loves the Costco card. They have no foreign transaction fees and no annual fee, but you do need a Costco membership to get the card. Yeah, that is an interesting card. I think the only thing I don't like about it is that it only gives you Costco cash back, and that comes in the form of a check once a year that you can only then redeem at a Costco, cash register. And so, that's something that's like a little weird to me. I prefer my cash back to be a little bit more flexible, but I do understand there's a lot of members of my family that actually make that work and like it. So I definitely get that. Relax. I got 7 cents per point on I Prefer redemption this summer at a 3 Michelin key hotel. Really upset about this nerf. There are some properties that are secretly bookable with their points that don't show up openly. Oh, okay. That's good to know. That is really good to know. Kirby, another reason why Citi is bad. Yeah. Kevin Wynn, it's almost the same to Chase Inc. In Premier, US Bank Altitude, Power Business, and Capital One, Spark Cash, and Spark Cash Plus. Yeah. That's definitely the answer. Okay. So for those of you that don't know, basically, Citi has dramatically reduced the amount of value that you're getting from these points when you're transferring to I Prefer. So I Prefer will on April 19th will be going from 1 to 4 to 1 to 2, and so that's going to be happening. And so basically that's a problem. And so anyway, what we are also doing, right, experiencing is that Choice Hotels will be going down from 1 to 2 to 1 to 1.5. And so that will be going down as well. And so that's going to be a problem, right? So yeah, so Kirby's got the hit the ball on the head here. My next card was going to be a Strata Premier, right? So now the question is this devaluation enough to throw this card away, not get this card? The Citi Strata Premier, it's a solid card. Let's take a look at it, actually. Let's see if I can I think I may still have to, log back in because I logged out. All right, I think, okay, so I'm doing this, trying to get to my points, view redeem, all sorts of fun stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the Citi Strata Premier. So the Citi Strata Premier here, I have almost 6,000 points. You get 10x back on hotels, car rentals, and attractions booked through City Travel, 3x air travel and other hotels, 3x restaurants, 3x supermarkets, 3x gas and electric vehicle charging, and then 1x on everything else. So if we wanted to redeem for our travel, what are our options? Let's see if I have it. I think I have to push another button. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and do more ways to redeem. Hopefully none of my personal information comes up. Let's see here. I can't verify my identity. Okay. All right. So there's that. Going to go ahead and close that out. But let's go ahead and go to the card here. So let's see. Looking at credit cards. Yep. All right, so let's say, so we have the Citi Strata cards, we have the Strata Premier, and the Strata Elite. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Strata here. Let's see, card details. Okay, so you can earn 20,000 points after spending $1,000 in the first 3 months, and this one's kind of interesting. So you get 3x back at supermarkets, 3x back on select transit and at gas and EV charging stations, and we get 3 points per dollar spent on eligible self-select category of your choice, and you get 1x back on everything else and 2x back at restaurants. So this is actually pretty solid because you get the gas and the EV charging, and then the selecting categories is actually pretty interesting. So let's go ahead and take a look at the let's see, where is the, there was a thing that said where it was, what the categories are. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So fitness clubs, select streaming services, live entertainment, cosmetic stores, barbershops, hair salons, or pet supply stores. So depending on how expensive your pet food is, maybe this would make sense. So that's still a decent card. Now the Citi Strata Premier card, $95. Is it worth it to spend $95 for the Citi Strata Premier? So you still have some decent multipliers, right? And you still have some decent transfer partners. So let's take a look at the Citi transfer partners, just to, because I do know they have a lot of the standard ones, right? They got the thank you, the Virgin points. You got the Air France points. Here we go. We got a core at 1 to 5. If you have the Citi Strata Elite, the Premier, the Prestige, or the AT&T Access. That's amazing. Avianca is still going to be really solid. Cathay is actually going to be pretty solid here because American Express is devaluing their transfer ratio. And so if you're trying to earn those Cathay Pacific points, which is actually really good for booking a lot of British Airways, right? So I actually booked British Airways business class for 63,000 Cathay Pacific points and about, I think it was like $200 per person on taxes and fees. And that was down from 1,000 if I'd booked that same flight through, through the Atmos program. So Cathay Pacific, not bad. Choice privileges, 1 to 2. We talked about that. We still get Emirates, Etihad, EVA, Air. That's a pretty decent deal as well. JetBlue at 1 to 1. That's actually pretty good because comparing that American Express doesn't have that, Capital One doesn't have that, but Citi does, Chase does. So that's going to be, I'm sorry, JetBlue was 1 to 1. Flying Blue, Air France, yeah, exactly. So we have Qatar. So I think, Thai Royal Orchid, you could do some decent conversions there. Turkish and Virgin Atlantic. So I think the biggest ones that I would be looking at value from would be American Airlines, obviously, Cathay. You're definitely going to get some good value from Flying Blue, from JetBlue, decent value, and then from Virgin. I think it would be the ones that I would, would probably work towards. So the problem with that, though, is that American Express has Cathay. American Express has Flying Blue. American Express has Virgin. Wells Fargo has JetBlue at 1 to 1, as Servicio is saying, right? And so that's going to be a big deal. And so, basically, if we're looking at the transfer partners that we can still get value from, we can get them everywhere else, right? If we take a look at Bilt transfer partners, let's take a look at that. So let's go ahead and go here. Hopefully none of my information will come out here. All right, yeah, so we have Atmos Rewards 1-to-1, which is going to be amazing for American. Let me see if I can zoom this in a little bit so you guys can see that better. There we go. Then we got Avianca at 1-to-1, so that's going to be the same thing. We have United, which is going to be something that's different. Air France at 1-to-1 still, Virgin. And then we got Emirates, they got British Airways, which you have access to the Obvious program. Cathay is going to be 1-to-1 with that. Turkish Airlines is going to be 1-to-1. We have Aer Lingus, which is another, basically obvious program. Air Canada at 1-to-1, so that's actually a little bit more utility there. Then we got TAP Air Portugal, that's going to be there. Southwest is going to be 1-to-1. Japan Airlines is there. So I think, honestly, depending on what you're looking at, you might be able to find better value with Bilt or with Wells Fargo or with Chase or, even American Express. And of course, here you have access to Accor Live Limitless, although I think this is a little bit worse than the one with Citi. IHG 1-to-1, never ever use that. World of Hyatt could be usable, depending on how this recent devaluation goes. Let's see. Let's see. Kirby's saying, just being dramatic, even with the nerf, you can still get good value with I prefer and choice. Just no more crazy, amazing redemptions, right? And I think that's kind of the problem with this one. Strata base gets, let's see, not sure where the rest of that was. Oh yeah, so Strata base has some 3X's Premier, but also 3X on pet food. That's super underrated. Yeah, because pet food can be expensive, right? Especially if you get some of those weird refrigerated ones. That's going to be, that's going to be difficult. Background saying the devals suck more than drivers who don't use their turn signal, but it could be worse. The I prefer transfer rate does suck more than the deval for choice. So yeah, no, 100%. Because going from 1-to-4 to 1-to-2 is just like, it's such a difference in actual points, right? So if you're looking at, that, let's say 100,000 point room, you're going from requiring 25,000 city points to 50,000 city points. And that's such a huge difference per night. It's crazy. It's almost as bad as if Amex went from 1-to-2 to Hilton to 1-to-1 to Hilton. Like that would be just absolutely terrible. Let's see. YouTube experiment, Jesse. It looks like it is both of the Premier and the Elite card. So it looks like it's going to be that. Yep. Okay. Yep. And then Servicio saying Wells Fargo also is JetBlue. So yeah. So I think where my wallet is going to go, and I'm going to do a video about this as well. But I think right now I'm going to be focusing on Bilt because that's going to be my catch-all, my travel card for, well, if I don't need the insurance, which my wife and I are going to be doing a rental car in Atlanta coming up in April. And so we're going to be using the Ritz-Carlton for that because, well, we're not going to be paying the CDW. And so we're going to be doing that. And so basically this is going to be my grocery card, 4x back on groceries, 3x back on travel. And so like when I pay for a hotel, probably going to put this on it. And then we're going to be using, this is my catch-all, 2x back up to $25,000 in spend. Going to be using the point accelerator on this card. So that's going to be a huge, huge part of my wallet moving forward. But then I'm going to accentuate it with the gold card for dining. So I'm going to get 4x back on dining, 4x back on Bilt points for grocery. And we're actually going to be spending more on grocery moving forward. So that's going to be really solid. And then that's pretty much going to be most of my spend. Now, the only thing that I would be kind of a question mark is if I'm trying to build up more Hyatt points, I might throw in my my Chase Sapphire Preferred with a 3x on dining, and basically, it maybe the 2x on travel if I'm looking for some of those travel protections, right? That could be an option. So that's something to consider. But I think that's going to be my big setup moving forward. And I'm definitely going to be upgrading my Hilton Honors card to an Aspire card for hotels, keep my Ritz-Carlton card. Yeah. So let's see. What is the best credit card at the moment, in your opinion? Yeah, I think honestly, it's very hard to say no to the Bilt cards right now, and they're doing a really good job of it. And so let's take a look at my Bilt card. And so Tyler's here. So Tyler's here is I got approved for the Bilt Obsidian card, and basically the reason why I like this card is, first of all, it is easy to use the Bilt Cash. It's a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. it's also good about telling you how much you earn. So if you go look up the point section, it tells you, okay, you earned this much on this purchase. You earned this much because of your point accelerator. You earned this much, the Bilt cash thing, that's amazing, right? So this is actually relatively easy to use and it makes sense. But there's also a lot of huge benefits, right? So I had a couple of like welcome offers with this card in addition to the $200 in Bilt cash, right? So I had the option to get 100 extra points for any Amazon purchase over $10, and so I wiped that out pretty easily. Then for the first week, I'm getting 5x back on any food delivery service. Fortunately for me, there's a lot of places on Uber Eats that are walkable from my office that have buy one get one free sales. So I'm doing pickup offers on buy one get one free deals for lunch. So I'm buying lunch, getting dinner as well, and then paying the same price. And I'm getting 5x back extra, so 6x, actually 7x on top of that because I get the point accelerator and the base point. So yeah, really, really solid earnings on this card and a lot of reasons to keep coming back. So the Bilt Obsidian card is going to be there. The one thing I wish it did have is better access, easier access to those credit card offers where you like get 10% back off of a certain thing, things like that. That would be nice, but I like the Bilt cards. Okay, there we go. We have some good questions. YouTube experiment. You will be transferring to I prefer a choice before the change takes place for Citi. Yeah, I got like almost 7,000 Citi points. I got to figure out where I'm going to put them. I don't need them in American right now, so I might as well go ahead and move them over to I prefer just because I know we're going to do at least 1 or 2 nights in Miami or something like that, and we can make that work. So I think I might do that, but it is going to be a bad situation. Okay. Mr. Law 67. So you will not be doing business cards. Any recommendations? Yeah. So I got to talk about all of my business cards. So I got a Spark card first of all, and then I have the Blue Business Plus, and then in addition to that, I have I have two of the Delta Business Platinum cards. And so the reason I did that is because I took an upgrade offer, but I also got the 110,000 point offer to open up a new card. So I have a new account for the Delta Platinum business card, and then I have the upgrade offer. So at the end of both of those sign-up bonus, I'm going to have about 170,000 points. And so basically those are really solid, but the Blue Business Plus is going to be really good for me. I actually did reacquire the Business Gold card as well, just because that sign-up bonus is really kicker, and we have a decent size tax payment coming up. And so that's going to be something that's going to be working on. And I'm really wanted to get that too recently because my yearly subscription to Squarespace is coming up. And so I want to make sure I was actually making that $150 credit work for me. And so, yeah, so I'm going to be using the Delta or the Amex Business Gold for maybe gas and then for maybe some restaurants thrown in there every once in a while. If I upgrade a computer or something, then, definitely going to put that on there for 4x back. And so, yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing. Kirby G, Bilt is king. Yep, exactly. Let's see. House of the Hypnodom. I'm loving my Bilt Obsidian card, which I could get the Bilt Palladium card at the same time for a perfect 2 card. So yeah, exactly. That would be amazing to get the Palladium card. So I basically the really reason why I applied for the Obsidian card is because I knew that it was going to be a little bit difficult to get the Palladium card, just because I would have needed to be approved for a higher credit limit for that card. And I knew that, I opened up 25 cards last year, that it was I'd already been denied for the Palladium card. So I tried the Obsidian card, got 6,000 credit limit on that one. And so that's why I got the Obsidian card. It's a great card. However, the Palladium card it's 2x on everything, but then it's 3x on up to $25,000 in spend in a year, right? If you max out the point accelerator. And so that's essentially a 3x back on everything card, but it's points. And, it is expensive, right? So that's kind of a big deal. Their credits are a little bit more difficult to actually get real world value from. The 50,000 point sign up bonus, if the American Express Gold card told you could only get a 50,000 points, we would laugh them out of the room. But it's okay because it's Bilt points because we all love Atmos, right? And so that's kind of a big key part of it. So, yeah, no, the Bilt Obsidian card I think is a happy medium where it's a lower annual fee. But you still get a decent amount of things, right? All right, so Jesse, so after City deval, Wells will sell the choice points at 1 to 2. So right, so that is the current story. We have not seen any news that that is changing, although that may change tomorrow. It may change. It may not change. Right, we don't know for sure. But currently, um, yeah, exactly. So you do have access to 1.1 to 2 with Wells Fargo there. Yeah, exactly. All right. So Servicia, I use the accelerator on the Obsidian, 4x grocery, 3x travel, 2x catch all. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing as well. So that's going to be kind of my dominant card this year, at least until I spend $25,000 on a card, which, who knows? I may not actually hit that. Tyler's credit card tips. You finally being approved for the Obsidian may make me consider reapplying. I was holding out because I wasn't sure when they'd remove me from the blacklist. Yeah, just email Dan at Bilt.com. And okay, I'm going to tell you my story. So I applied for this card 3 weeks ago. I actually did it on my live stream where I had the 1 year anniversary with everybody. I did it literally on the live stream, applied for it. And they basically, they actually wanted me to do, well, okay, before that, I applied for the Built Palladium card literally the day that they opened it up for all the people that currently had Bilt cards. So I was like, I'm just going to try to do it. And so, I was automatically denied for that, and I had to wait 45 days. March 1st was 45 days. So I applied on March 1st. They actually wanted me to, verify myself. So I ended up having to take a picture of my driver's license, take a selfie, send that in, and then they were able to actually make everything. They were able to verify that I verified my identity, but that they were basically needed some time to get back to me. And so that was kind of a big problem. And so I waited, right? I waited a week and I was like, okay, I'm going to email Dan at Bilt.com. And eventually, basically, they were like, okay, we're going to see, what we can do. They talked to cardless people. Cardless people confirmed with me. And another week happened. And I was like, okay, like I still haven't heard anything. I'm just going to email them back. I'm like, hey, I'm sure you're getting a million emails like this. Thank you for all that you're, doing. I really would like to have this card, just, want to check in on this. And within an hour of sending that email, I got a notification that I was approved for the Bilt Obsidian card. So, just suck up to them a little bit on the emails. So, there's that. Now, why do I like Bilt points, right? So the Atlas points are very, very easy to use. And so my wife and I, we actually ended up canceling the flight, but we found American Airlines business class seats for 45,000 points from London Heathrow into, I think it was... Actually, no, it was directly into MCO. So we had one itinerary flying into Philadelphia, 2 hour layover in Philadelphia, and then we were going to be flying back into Orlando. And so we had those for 45,000 points. And I want to say it was like $500 in taxes for both of us, so about $250 in taxes. And one of the great things about it was actually one of the new planes. So they actually verified that it was one of the new planes. So it was going to be on the new product, which I was really excited about. So, that if you look at that, we're looking at for business class tickets, 2,000 maybe on one way, something like that. Like it's expensive for those points. So 45,000 Atmos points is not bad for business class tickets from London Heathrow into Orlando. So you don't have to go into JFK, go out through security, check back into the flight, like the whole thing. It's one itinerary, all the stuff, right? And so that's going to be kind of really why I love my Atmos points. And so Bilt, Bilt will be Atmos and or Hyatt maybe, depending on how it goes. And so that's kind of where I'm going to go. It might accentuate some other things, right? Like maybe if I'm trying to make a Cathay Pacific, redemption work, then that could be a little bit better. But yeah, no, 100%, Tyler. You should definitely try it. You should do it on a live stream. All right. Well, we are here for an hour, 86 people in the room. Thanks so much for being here. If you haven't already hit that like button, please make sure you do so. Thanks so much for watching on this one. We're probably just going to be here for another little bit. I do need to go to bed because we have a feeding scheduled for about 5 to 5:30 a.m. So I want to make sure I am awake for that. YouTube experiment. I originally applied to Palladium and was denied. Something about my credit report with Innovis. I think mine is locked. Anyways, a few days later, received an email saying I was approved. Yeah, okay. So yeah, it seems like everyone has an approval story with a couple of kind of back and forth on that one. So, thanks. I'm glad that you got it, the Palladium card. Honestly, I will say though, if I had, even if they told me I would be approved for the Palladium card, I think where I'm at in life right now, I would still choose the Obsidian card because that annual fee is a lot, right? And especially when you talk about the fact that I would not be getting much value because I already have cards that have Party Pass, right? I have the Ritz Carlton card, which probably is the one card that I will never cancel unless it goes up to like $700 or something, right? Just because I get Party Pass for me and my wife, and actually my son. I might as well go ahead and do that now. And so that's going to be solid because basically they each get party pass. So if my wife were to travel for work, she has access to those lounges. She has access to do the Sapphire lounges. And so I wouldn't really care about getting party pass with Bilt. I would try to find a way to use those credits, but ever since actually not having the platinum card, I'm liking life without the credits. It's actually kind of nice. You kind of have to retrain your brain a little bit because it's like, oh, I could get $75 off of Lululemon, right? If I had the platinum card, but then I'd be spending a lot more than $75 for that option to save that money. But anyway, yeah. So that is what we were talking about today. We're talking about Citi. Thanks so much for being here, everybody. I think I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping things up. But if you have any other questions, please let me know. But thank you so much for being here, guys. You have been incredible. Thanks so much for all the good questions, too. I really appreciate that. It's been great to share Friday evening with you guys. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. And I hope you have a good weekend. I'm going to be here on Sunday with Daniel. We're going to be talking about amazing redemption that he just recently made. So really excited about that. But anyway, thanks again, and I'll see you guys later. Have a great day.